Welcome back to the MNSRC Podcast from May 2014. This month's featured topic is the concept of using cards to proper effect in a match. Cards are a powerful tool for referees to use, not just to punish behavior that happens in a match, but more importantly, can be used to dictate expectations for future behavior. It's important to keep this in mind when using them, because we also need to remember that sending a player off will dramatically change the tactical nature of a game. That doesn't mean we should fear sending players off when they've earned it, but it does mean we need to understand the ramifications of our decisions and respect the impact those decisions will have on the matches that we officiate. Our first clip this month looks at an incident from opening day of the Major League Soccer season in Seattle. The Sounders are hosting defending MLS champion Sporting Kansas City, and the referee is Irish import Alan Kelly. This incident occurs in the second half of a 0-0 game and involves Sounders midfielder Osvaldo Alonso, who was cautioned earlier in the match. Let's have a look.
See Clint Dempsey right out of the gates be the player that he knows he can be.
Sporting Kansas City debut for Sal Zizzo, who was in Portland the last 3 years. Struggled for playing time last year, had some injuries, and they were trying to convert him to right back. He's in now for Jacob Peterson as Zusi's free kick goes nowhere, but we're going to do it again, and Alonso, who's already on a yellow, if he gets, the referee was reaching for the pocket there. That's a yellow card offense.
Well, that's what Graham Zusi's saying right now. You were reaching to the pocket.
Alonso was encroaching the 10 yards there, says the referee. Alonso was booked late in the first half, and Alan Kelly, our referee. And this is, we talk with referees about game management sometimes. I mean, should that be a second yellow card, Kyle? Never mind that it's a red. Is that a yellow card?
You know, it's in a situation where you ask for 10 yards and you wait and you ask for the whistle. You understand when there's encroachment on it that there should be a yellow card. You know, typically when you're trying to play quick and a player's just encroaching and getting up in front of the ball, you don't see a yellow card all that often for that. But Graham Zusi said you were going to the pocket. He encroached. That should have been a second yellow.
Get out of jail free for Osvaldo Alonso. We'll do it again with Kansas City. Zusi, better height this time. Pinballs around, and Traore able to get it at least somewhat clear. Evans helping.
A simple summary of this incident is that, coming out of a substitution, Sporting has a free kick in Seattle's half of the field. We see Kelly trying to back Alonso up, and Graham Zusi of Sporting takes the kick. Alonso leaps and successfully blocks the kick, at which point Zusi complains that Alonso was inside the 10-yard radius. Kelly blows his whistle, clearly indicating the kick is going to be retaken. There's a number of issues in play here, and Kelly makes some significant errors that puts him in a bit of a pickle. First off, this free kick is clearly ceremonial. Sporting is substituting, which means the referee controls the restart. In these cases, the referee needs to be absolutely clear that the game cannot be restarted until he says so. The fact that Zusi took the kick before Kelly had given a whistle means the referee failed to make this concept clear to the players. Second, Kelly is seen trying to back Alonso up. Now this is an interesting decision in this situation. With no other attackers near the ball, it seems pretty clear that Zusi intends to lob the ball into the penalty area for a scoring chance. Kelly's primary concern is going to be all of the grabbing and impeding going on in the penalty area as players jostle for position. This may be why Kelly winds up looking unconvincing in his attempt to move Alonso back. He wants Alonso to back off to 10 yards, but he doesn't want to consume himself with the task while all of those players in the penalty area are committing various atrocities that he won't see. The problem is that he clearly indicates he is dissatisfied with Alonso's distance from the ball in a visual manner, and yet fails to effectively move him back. That leads to the outcome of the play. When Alonso blocks the free kick, Zusi and his Sporting teammates immediately recognize this. Hey, this guy just interfered with a ceremonial free kick inside 10 yards. That's a card. That's number 2 on him. Kelly now has a hole to dig himself out of. Not only that, but we hear the announcers indicate that Kelly is reaching for his pocket. Hey, if you're pulling a card, Alonso already has one. He's got to go. First of all, it's important to recognize some of the mistakes that were made here. First off, it is a ceremonial free kick. The referee controls the restart after a sub, so it needs to be clear to everybody that nobody's doing anything without the referee's permission. Kelly got caught on this because he was trying to juggle two tasks, backing up Alonso and keeping an eye on the penalty area mayhem. I'm not sure any referee can juggle these tasks successfully, so the right choice would have been to prioritize one or the other. That means either backing Alonso off and ceding observation of the penalty area to the fourth and the assistant referee, a situational conversation that would have to have taken place in the pregame, or focusing on the penalty area and then using an alternative technique to convince Alonso to back up. Because this is a ceremonial restart, the referee's first priority here is to be the first brick in the wall. There is nothing else that is going to happen in this match coming out of the substitution until Kelly says so. He can be that first brick while watching the mess in the penalty area at the same time. Get to that 10 yards, set it, and then there are no doubts. If Alonso isn't paying attention, give the whistle a few short blasts. In addition to using the whistle to get Alonso's attention, it will also catch the ears of the players tussling in the penalty area, who may actually pause for a second to see if they're the reason that the referee is blowing the whistle. Kelly doesn't do this, though, and he gets caught in no man's land. So, what other options does he have at that point? Well, he could not say anything and not raise his arm to move Alonso back. Let's be honest, if Alonso's sitting around 9 yards on a free kick 40 yards from goal, if Kelly doesn't say anything to him and Zusi doesn't complain, then Alonso jumps and blocks the kick, Kelly hasn't pigeonholed himself into telling anybody that Alonso is inside 10 yards. If Zusi asks for 10 yards, then blow the whistle at that mess in the penalty area to tell him to knock it off, then go back and set the wall. Nobody is going to do anything until you blow your whistle for the restart. This is Kelly's first year in Major League Soccer, so he probably doesn't know the players as well as many of the other officials. He doesn't have that facial recognition that other referees will have, so he must have forgotten that Alonso was already booked in this game. As a referee, while players truly earn their second yellows and we can't provide a halo, we can take steps to discourage them from getting that second yellow. A good referee will perhaps say, "Hey Alonso, you're on a yellow, don't do something stupid and tie my hands here." And a smart player will then understand what you're trying to do. Unfortunately, Kelly didn't recognize who was standing on that one-man wall. And the minute he blows the whistle, now all the Sporting players are thinking that the next 30 minutes are going to be played a man up. But Kelly deploys some common sense here, and he decides to sacrifice a bit of his own integrity for the benefit of the game. He's also very smart in that the card here would be for failure to respect the required distance. And such a card does not need to be pulled quickly in order to maintain game control. Before he pulls the card from his pocket, he realizes Alonso was already in his book, and he makes a decision to not card him for the interference. Sporting is clearly not very happy about this, but they can't argue the fact that if it was one of their players, they would appreciate Kelly's restraint as well. Kelly resets the free kick, perhaps tells Zusi that he hadn't blown his whistle to allow Zusi to take the free kick, and restarts the game 11 on 11. Did Kelly manage this situation by the book? No. Did he make some mistakes? Yes. Did he recognize that he made mistakes? Absolutely. Did he serve the game and avoid having one of his mistakes have a major impact on the last 30 minutes of play? Yes. Players understand referees make mistakes, but game control is, in part, related to how a referee man-manages the players after those mistakes. Kelly had a choice to go by the book here and finish sending off Alonso, but he recognized his own culpability in the development of the situation and did what made sense. In the process, for all of the discussion the commentators had on the sequence, after this game ended, the entire incident went missing from most media analyses and was absent from the post-match comments from both the players and coaches. That means something. Now for comparison, let's have a look at this incident from a match between the Philadelphia Union and Houston Dynamo a few weeks later. The score is 0-0, the game is being played in Philadelphia, and to give you some knowledge of the game situation, Houston's Kofi Sarkodie is sitting on a caution with 10 minutes to play.
Generally, we have seen Dynamo strikers peeling off to get the ball at the corner flag. Yes? Not as much in those areas that.
But again, with no Brad Davis, with Boniat Garcia playing in the middle, you don't have that creativity and that vision on the wings to be able to play those goals.
Big discussion here around Villarreal. Ricardo Clark. What's going on? Clark been ejected. He is. Ricardo Clark has been ejected. Clark was carrying a yellow. Still a lot of confusion here.
Wait, is it Kofi Sarkodie?
It was a red card flashed.
He's just given him his second yellow?
Sarkodie and Clark both have a yellow, and I believe it's not Clark who's been ejected. It has been Kofi Sarkodie now, we're being told. Now, the Dynamo did not adapt to going down to 10 against FC Dallas well, and they're going to have to reconfigure things here very quickly.
Well, I'm pretty sure the yellow card was for time wasting, which that's a stretch. This is another very poor decision by a referee that's hampering the Dynamo. We saw it 2 weeks ago with David Horst, a very poor decision on the straight red. The referee now hasn't warned any player on either team the entire game about time wasting. There has to at least be a warning. Say, hey guys, here's your warning. You do it again, you're getting a card. In that instance, I can see it.
Knowing the game situation is critical in recognizing what is going on here. In professional soccer, the road team will often be satisfied with a draw, so the score being 0-0 and with 10 minutes to go, it makes sense for Houston to slow things down. Sarkodie has a throw-in deep in his own half of the field, and the referee, Armando Villarreal, blows his whistle and orders him to put the ball in play. This is good situational awareness. Villarreal understands Sarkodie has motivation to waste time, so he audibly and visibly encourages him to put the ball back into play. We see about 7 seconds elapse on the game clock after this warning, and Sarkodie still has not put the ball back in play. At this point, Villarreal blows his whistle again, jogs over, and cautions Sarkodie. This is where the problem develops. Remember, delay cautions, very similar to failure to respect the required distance cautions, don't need to be shown urgently. Take your time, make sure you're comfortable with what you're doing and who you are booking. Once the card comes out of the pocket, the only way you can wipe that card out and save face is a case of mistaken identity or a situation where one of your crewmates provides you with additional information to justify overturning the card. That's not going to happen usually in a case of delay, especially when the guy holding the ball on the touchline is pretty obvious to everybody. Notice that Villarreal begins to walk away while Philadelphia players then instantly surround him. The Union players fully recognize Sarkodie has just been shown his second caution, and they are drooling at the prospect of spending the last 10 minutes up a man to try to win this game. Villarreal pulls out his book and checks it, then finally goes back and shows Sarkodie his red. It doesn't take a genius to figure out what's happened here. Villarreal did not realize Sarkodie was on a caution, and now that he's shown him a second caution, he has no options. He must send him off. The common sense issue in this clip boils down to how you deal with delay. Always remember that delaying the restart of play has many different ways that it can be dealt with. You can, of course, issue a caution, but remember, you can also include verbal warnings, public or private, and always add time to the end of the half. A card for delay is a serious measure that is typically used not mainly to punish the player guilty of delaying the restart of play, but to basically tell all of his teammates that such actions in the future will be punished severely. That does not make the card to Sarkodie wrong necessarily. Sarkodie clearly takes far too long to put the ball back into play, and there is no question that his failure to act means a caution becomes one of the options available for Villarreal to use. It's not necessarily a wrong choice, but the caution, followed by the aggressive reminders by the Union players and the clear delay between the showing of the yellow and red cards, strongly suggests Villarreal did not realize either that it was Sarkodie's second yellow or that Sarkodie was the one he was cautioning. If he had, Villarreal could have chosen to aggressively and verbally reprimand Sarkodie instead of issuing the second card, and then simply added time to the half. It can be argued that Sarkodie earned his second booking, but the decision left Houston shorthanded for the last 10 minutes and changed the dynamic of the match. It appears clear that this decision was made without any understanding of its consequences, and the impact was a loss of confidence in Villarreal by the players and the team officials. The commonality in these two videos is that both referees made the same mistake. They recognized misconduct, but created situations where they had no choice but to deal with it. They were both dealing with players who were already in the book. They both failed to recognize those players were already in the book, and thus opened the door for the players' opponents to use gamesmanship to try to change the match dynamic. The difference between the two situations was that Kelly figured this out before he pulled the card. Maybe that was awareness, maybe it was good technique, or maybe it was just blind luck. Again, once that card comes out, your hands are usually tied. If you don't need the card to defuse a potential flashpoint, it's okay to take your time and figure out what the impact will be of your decision. In Kelly's case, he made a crucial but fair decision to not impact the game with his mistake. Villarreal, on the other hand, dug himself in too far to even be allowed that option. We all can learn from both of these referees and continue to try to serve the game in the manner that it needs to be served. The final clip this month looks at another controversial sending off from a match between Vancouver and Colorado from several weeks ago. With about 12 minutes left, Vancouver is leading Colorado 1-0 at home. Matthias Laba of Vancouver is on a caution when this happens.
Powers just creeping away from him. LaBrocca looking to join the fray. The Whitecaps bring the ball away. LaBrocca battling back.
It's a yellow, yeah, has to be, yeah.
I'm not sure he wasn't dragged back in the first place by Nick LaBrocca. Oh, and he's off. He's off. A red card shown. A second yellow for Matthias Laba. Too much chat, and he's gone. While a huge lifeline to the Colorado Rapids, a goal down, but the Whitecaps will play the remaining 15 minutes and man down.
Here we see a situation where the referee's primary mistake is a failure to read the player's actions. Laba is carrying the ball out of his own half when he's run into from behind by a Colorado player. Truth be told, this looks like a foul, and from the standpoint of simplicity, it's an easy place to call a foul against the attacking team. The resulting free kick restart is unlikely to launch a dangerous counterattack from within the defending team's own half. However, referee Ioannis Stavridis, another new import to Major League Soccer, this time from Greece, chooses not to call a foul for the apparent charge. In all fairness, we need to give Stavridis the benefit of the doubt here, regardless of how much of a foul this appears to be. He didn't think it was. Laba, however, upon hitting the ground, turns and looks at Stavridis, then reaches out and grabs the ball with his hand. No question, this is a bit of gamesmanship. Laba's trying to force Stavridis to call the foul by grabbing the ball. Dude, I just got run over, now I grabbed the ball, so you have to call it. As a referee, you can't let players influence your decisions as to what is a foul and what isn't, and Stavridis doesn't fall for it. He blows his whistle and signals for a Colorado free kick, calling a handling offense against Laba. He has to. It's either a charge by Colorado's Nick LaBrocca or handling by Laba. There's no middle ground here. Where Stavridis loses the plot here is when he then issues Laba his second caution for unsporting behavior for his deliberate handling that breaks up a Colorado counterattack. You can see the acres of space in front of LaBrocca, and when Laba grabs the ball, he denies LaBrocca the opportunity to carry a counterattack. The handling appears to be tactical, hence the caution. But is it really tactical? Why is Laba grabbing the ball? Is it to coax a foul call against LaBrocca, or is it to deny Colorado a counterattack? No matter how many times you watch this, the answer has to be, I don't know. We're not saying it isn't a tactical foul, but how can anybody be sure? Laba is Argentinian, and Latin players are renowned worldwide for using gamesmanship skills to try to influence referee decisions. As a referee, put yourself in Laba's shoes here. Do you think it's reasonable for Laba to think that he was fouled, even if you don't think so? If so, the handling isn't tactical. Sure, it would be nice if Laba would just play to the whistle, but if you're going to caution Laba and send him off for a second caution for unsporting behavior, you need to be 100% sure of the tactical nature of this action. Sorry, but that's not obvious here. Unlike the first example, where Kelly chooses not to have an impact on the remainder of the match and sacrifices a small portion of his integrity to maintain the integrity of the competition, and the second example, where Villarreal makes an error and pigeonholes himself, Stavridis simply reads this situation incorrectly. The decision to send off Laba with a second yellow dramatically changes the match integrity. Colorado scores 2 goals against man-down Vancouver in the match's closing 12 minutes, including that screamer, and Vancouver sees a 6-point reverse in their point total in the standings. Ouch. We can see why a referee might read Laba's handling as offense as tactical. But common sense says there's a possibility that it's just some mindless gamesmanship. If you're looking to put the player in his place, simply calling the handling and awarding a free kick to Colorado should clearly indicate to the player that you, the referee, will not be gamed by shenanigans, and the simple handling decision will publicly humiliate the player quite enough. We keep coming back to this. Effective use of misconduct should be able to prevent future behavior. Don't you think that simply calling the handling offense here will be enough to deter players from trying to influence foul calls by grabbing the ball? What does this card accomplish? You grab the ball to prevent the other team from counterattacking, I won't hesitate to book you. Well, what are the odds that another player is going to pull this stunt after you just simply call a handling offense here? What does that card gain you other than you now become a focal point of the post-match discussion by changing the match dynamic in a way that had to contribute to a come-from-behind rally by Colorado in the closing minutes on the road? In each of these clips, there is evidence that the referee was issuing or was about to issue a caution to a player who he did not realize he had already booked. While this kind of awareness is fairly advanced officiating, it also becomes a key component of improving your skills as a referee. Please keep in mind that we are absolutely not telling you to not use cards when a player earns them. If the player deserves the card, then you should give the card. The take-home message here is that we want you to understand the consequences of your decision on the match, rather than to just blindly administer justice. Our job as referees is to serve the game, and sometimes that means considering all of our options available and understanding the consequences of each choice. Sometimes a good dose of personality can accomplish much more than a quick card. That's it for this month. We don't have youth footage this month because we're coming out of the Minnesota winter, so it's time to get out on the field and start collecting more footage. Look forward to a summer with plenty of youth clips to evaluate and a return to simpler topics. We'll see you soon.